Hey guys, Michael here today. So I wanted to pick a topic to talk about that affects us all. And it can be advice that you can actually apply to yourself even if you're not a writer. But in writing, it's extremely important. You see, when we're writers, we are our own bosses, and there's a level of self-discipline that we need to carry on and carry forward. We need to be able to say, we're going to do something, and we need to be able to hold ourselves accountable to it. And we also need to be able to make goals that are realistic. So, in my adventures, I am officially halfway through my novel. I'm super excited. 42,000 words. I'm aiming for the 80,000 word publishing standard for the genre that I'm writing. So I'm over halfway there. But I'm not thrilled. I don't feel as excited as I should be. And I think there's a reason to that. And that's because I set my goals too high. So let's talk about goals in general. When you're writing, yes, we sit down, we write when we get excited, we write when we're ready to express ourselves. But the fact of the matter is writing is business in a sense. And we need to be able to look at a project such as a book, and we need to be able to set up a goal to when we're going to complete that. Otherwise, we just never will. In terms of your own personal goals, you need to take a look at what's in your life and see what you can work out. I work a full-time job. I also am still a student. I'm finishing up a few credits of mine in college. So there's not too much free time, as you might imagine. So when am I going to write? When am I able to sit down and unleash that creative ingenuity that I hope I have? Well, you need to plan around it. Know when to have times to write, first of all. Morning, afternoon, evening. When do you write best? And how much do you write? And what's realistic? Once you start getting into the flow, you can adjust your goal. Set a goal and set something realistic. Let's say set 2 chapters a week. That seems like a very realistic goal to write out, or even a chapter a week. It really depends on how much time you have. Personally, when I started, I set a very unrealistic goal, which is to write a chapter every 2 days. So if we look at a standard week, 7 days, I'm writing at least 3 chapters in a week. And that's pretty crazy. That's a lot of work to do between writing. Some people may have the time for that. Some people may be retired. Some people might have part-time jobs and be able to support themselves on that, and thus they have tons of time for writing. But it's not just about time either. It's about the mental ability to sit down and write. We're not sponges. You can't just squeeze us and have ingenuity flow out. Sometimes we need to have a period of time over which we can think about and collect our thoughts. For me, that happened to be about 2 chapters a week. And every writer's different. So if this sounds a lot to you, don't worry. If this sounds a little bit, that's fine. Writers are different. Some writers will sit down and they'll write a paragraph, and that is their day of writing. And we're talking about famous authors. Some authors, like Agatha Christie, would sit down, lock herself in a room for a few days, and just produce a novel. And that's amazing. And if you can do that, I'm very jealous. But I can't. I need time to rest. I need time to think. Generally, when I sit down, my writing sessions are usually around a half an hour or so. And I'll usually produce anywhere from 1/4 of a chapter to half a chapter, depending on what I'm writing. And remember, my chapters might not be your chapters. I have generally shorter chapters. So my 2 chapters a week might equal your 1 chapter a week. It's all dependent on how you set that up. Given that goals need to be reached, we want to set realistic goals. Because if we set a goal too high and we don't reach it, it crushes us inside. And if we set a goal too low and we accomplish it, it doesn't feel as good as it should be. So here's what you want to do. You want to create large milestones and small milestones. This is essential in goal setting. So pick a week that you think you will hit a certain point in your novel. So I've written half of my novel now. I've decided that I have about another 15 chapters to go, and I've decided that I'm going to try and write about 2 chapters every week, if I can. That should mean So 4 weeks in a month, that's 8 chapters. So in about a month's time, I hope to be 3/4, I'm sorry, away done from my book. So if we're in the middle of August, then my goal is that by the mid-September, or even end of September, I'm going to give myself a little leeway. By the end of September, I want to be able to write off the halfway, the 3/4 mark. Okay, and that's a big goal. We can set these big chunks. You might set a big chunk as halfway through your novel or a quarter of a way through. You can set up how you want, but these are big goals that you need to reach. And then inside of those major milestones, you need to set small goals. So I have my major goal of hitting 3/4 of my novel by the end of September. My mini goals are to write 2 chapters per week. And you can even break it down from there. And to write 15 minutes a day. When we have a large task like writing a novel, we need to use goals. But if we just set a huge general goal, we'll never reach it. And if we set a bunch of small goals, they're too nitpicky and we're not seeing the overall picture. Set a goal that's realistic, that you feel like you can accomplish, and then set smaller goals to help you accomplish that larger goal. When writing, we're taking an adventure. We're writing at least 80,000 words if we're aimed at publishing with a major publisher. Depending on the type of novel you write, if you're writing science fiction or fantasy, you might even see that you're writing much more than that. You're writing over 100,000 words for that genre. Everyone's a little different. Mystery, we're writing around 70,000, so a little less. What I'm writing is a fictional thriller, so I'm aimed at that kind of industry standard of 80,000. Beyond there, I know I have that goal for September to get that book in. And then I know that by November, I want to have the book finished and have December to be able to proofread the book. Setting up goals is a great way to do it. And there's a few ways you can get it done. You can use your phone. If you want to use a corkboard or something you can actually put up in your room, that's a great idea. I have a bunch of these little moleskin notebooks. If it helps you to write down, you can grab one of these notebooks and kind of plot out your journey. You can even reflect on that journey in those notebooks. So are you not reaching that goal? And if you're not reaching a goal, take a look at why. Sometimes there's an adjustment that needs to be made. Sometimes it's just not possible for you to reach that goal. So don't get too caught up on it. As long as you're writing. Writing is going to be the majority of your, it's your passion. Writing is that passion. And as long as you keep writing, we're making progress. You're moving faster than the person who's not moving. Okay? So get out there, get writing. I'm in this boat with you guys. Like I said, if this is your first time watching one of these videos, I'm not a published writer. I'm a writer on my journey to be published. And we're going to see where that takes me. And I'm glad to have you guys along the road to discuss stuff with and to reflect. If you have any comments or any ideas on meeting goals, how do you keep your progress rolling forward? What do you do to sit down and write? Do you plot it out? Do you have a certain time of day that helps you write? What gets you in that motion, and what keeps you accountable to write? Maybe you're part of a writer's group where you can share content with friends. For a while, I was going down that option. I was going to hit halfway, and I was going to hit quarter of a book actually, and start doing beta readers. But I decided against it for my own personal reasons. So get out there and write. Make sure to comment below. We'll have a discussion about this. If you have any questions, we're here to bounce off each other. We're all in the same group right now. I'm not elevated. I'm not a writer who has published 1,000 novels. I'm just trying to share my advice as I go along and what I've noticed. And goals have helped me a ton. Share below. Be sure to subscribe. And let me know what you're writing. Let me know how it's going. And we'll talk next week. See you guys.